So there's an epidemic sweeping our country, one you may not expect: loneliness. In May, the Surgeon General called attention to its effects on older people, but it also affects everyone, regardless of age. Here to give us some advice on how to combat loneliness is Dr. Donna Oriowo, owner and leader of Anand Wright Therapy. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about what is the difference between being alone and loneliness?
This is one of my favorite questions.
Right.
And it's really simple.
Okay.
One is physical distance. I'm alone, and often you choose it. Like when you're like, leave me alone. I don't want to be friends with you right now. I want to be by myself. And loneliness, on the other hand, is more emotional, mental distance from others, perceived, right? So it doesn't mean that it is true, but if you perceive that what you want is a certain level of connection and closeness that you're not getting, then you can feel lonely. So feelings are not facts, but they do become the thing that we sort of ground our loneliness in.
Ooh, I like that. No, I mean, I like it as in like, yes, that makes so much sense. And so you talked a little bit on this, but how can you identify loneliness? How do you know?
You know you're lonely if the quality of your relationships feel like they're lacking.
Okay.
Right? If you're feeling, even when you're with your friends, that you're just not really a part of it all, that you are separate somehow, feeling oftentimes depressed or even anxious about being in social situations as a result, you can tell then at some point that you are a little bit lonely.
Right. And long-term loneliness, does that come with issues? I mean,
big issues.
Because I feel like we all feel lonely sometimes, but when it becomes long-term, I imagine that's tough.
Yes, long-term loneliness, we're talking anxiety, we're talking depression, we're talking low self-esteem, but beyond that, we're also talking about heart disease.
Wow.
We're talking about premature death. So loneliness it's pervasive in the ways that it shows up in our lives, but it also means that you're less likely to get out of loneliness because you're also already seeing people as rejecting you or not wanting you or wanting to distance themselves from you.
Right.
So you're also not seeking to fix it.
So loneliness, it sounds like, comes with its own like emotions and feelings. Like you're not just lonely, but you think like, I'm lonely and also people are rejecting me.
Yep.
Okay, got it. And so on that note, like, how do you, once you kind of have established, I'm feeling lonely, wow, this is a long-term issue, what do you do?
Well, knowing the problem is half the battle, which sounds cheesy, but it's true.
It's true,
yeah. Because you can solve 100% of problems that you can't solve anything that you don't know about. So if you know that you're lonely, now you can figure out what you would like to do about it, right? So one of the things that you could do about it is find community. So online community, in-person community, you can try your very best to reconnect with friends, and this one is a scary one. Tell them that you feel lonely.
I was going to say that vulnerability, it's scary, but it helps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And consider the way that you've already set up your life. Because a lot of us, beautiful American culture that we do have, it's very much geared toward go to work, right? To be productive, to do the best and be your best.
Right.
And sometimes to mask who you are so that you can show up in a space, right?
True.
So it makes it more difficult to form authentic connections with people when you are having to pretend to be somebody that you're not. So being vulnerable at work, being vulnerable in space. I recognize that being vulnerable for some of us comes with a little bit more risk than for others. And at the same time, it's something that will help to combat loneliness.
Yeah.
I know for me, I have a group of women come together every Tuesday for something I call In My Black Feelings, so that they can be surrounded in community and be authentic in that space and feel a sense of connection.
Right.
So that, and of course, I'm a therapist. I'm always going to say you can always get therapy.
I was going to say that's kind of Speaking of which, if people want to connect with you, I know you do a lot of things. Where can they find you?
They can find me on DonnaOriowo.com, AnandWright.com. I'm on TikTok and I'm on Instagram.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much. I mean, this was such a great conversation. I could talk about this forever, but I think loneliness is something you don't think about in the summer, especially. So
Yeah, I think that because it's, it's nice outside,
Right.
people are not dealing with the same levels of seasonal depression that they have been.
Right.
They think that it automatically erases feelings of loneliness, and that's not true.
Right.
Because, as a matter of fact, you might even feel more lonely because you're having this perception of, well, I'm supposed to be outside. Right. I'm supposed to be having fun. I'm supposed to.
True.
So you end up shooting all over yourself. So when you're not doing the thing that you feel like you should do, you're also feeling bad about yourself and still disconnected from others.
Right. So true.
It just breeds shame, which brings secrets, and secrets means that we distance ourselves from others because shame says something is wrong with me, and I have to hide that.
Yes.
So if something is wrong with me, I have to hide it from you.
Right.
And if I'm hiding it from you, that means I'm not showing up as my authentic self, which makes me feel more lonely.
That is so true. Dr. Oriowo, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking about this important topic. Absolutely.